Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be doing Season 5 Chapter 2 of the Infinite Labyrinth, but before we start I just want to let everyone know that I'm doing a giveaway for 5 tower passes in my previous video. If you haven't already, go check it out, and for those that have left a comment, I'd want to say thank you for doing so. I've read everyone's comments and it means a lot to me how supportive you all are. To start, I'll be leaving timestamps below in the description for every stage, and I'll be going through the builds for each stage as well, starting with stage 1. This week, I reckon there's going to be a lot of strat changes, so these builds may be different or expected to change throughout the season, but this is the current build I'm using for Candy Drop Cookie, my Durian Cookie, my Rockstar Cookie, Dark Choco, Plantain. You can use the Going Beyond artifact and the Release artifact, however I also like to use Werewolf's artifact. I'm going to be using Werewolf's artifact just to make it a little bit easier for everyone to follow. Alchemist runs a dark set with Wizard's artifact. If you don't have a maxed out Wizard artifact, because you do need 2 in some of these stages, you can run Karolby or the new artifact is out, or the Ninja artifact as well. Cherry will be running this, Mile will be running this, and Lemazes will be running this. And again, if you don't have this artifact max or 2 stars and above, just run the Ninja artifacts. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. As I've mentioned in previous videos, these strats aren't free to play friendly, so you're more than welcome to adapt and change it however you feel like. Like I've mentioned before, these strats are quite new, so they are probably expected to change, so I will be making update videos along the way if they do. To start off with, we're going to make sure we're going to use Candy's ultimate, start the wave, and then use her skill. Once that happens, we're going to use Rockstar's ult around about here, just so you can hit the bottom guy that's one's on the left and the top right guy. Like that. You want to be quick with this, because the quicker you are, the more that this skill from Candy Cookie can do damage on the second wave. Once that happens, we're going to use Durian's ult, and you want to aim it so it hits both these 4 enemies over here. And if you can aim it a little bit higher than what I've done now to hit these 2 guys in the middle as well, that's perfectly fine, because it will start the next wave a little bit earlier. Once that happens, we just want to start the next wave as soon as possible. And this stage does get a little bit tricky because it does take a while to kill most of the enemies. You want to use a couple skills on the guys on the outside, and if you have the attack buff from Rockstar, you can kill these guys in one shot, or if you're doing stronger than mine, you can kill them in one shot. And like I said before, if these guys are dead, it does make the stage a little bit easier. Then you just use a couple basic attacks on the rest of these top guys over here, and it will kill all of them. And like I've mentioned before, this guy will be dead from Durian's ult. This stage isn't too hard, much like the other chapter. If you want to make sure that your Plantain's strong enough, you can jump off a couple times with the Werewolf artifact, or if you're running the Epic artifact, you won't need to do this. So to start, you want to use Alchemist's skill and then ult. You want to aim it towards the middle, just so it makes it a little bit easier to kill the enemies on the third wave. Now, if your DC is a little bit too weak, you can use Plantain's skill in the middle, and it does make it a little bit quicker in my opinion, but just for demonstration purposes, I'm not going to be using Plantain's skill. Once it starts, you can use a charge attack on the far left guy, and you want to walk over to these 2 enemies over here. If you dash, you do lose a bit of time running back, so I find it a little bit easier to walk. And then once that happens, we want to dash to the left side, sorry, and then use his ultimate immediately. You want to be as fast as possible, just so you can hit this top guy over here. But once this top guy is dead, you want to come over to the left side, and you want to wait just a couple seconds for the enemies over here to group up, and then you just use Plantain's skill and it should kill them. This stage here is incredibly easy, probably the easiest we've had in a while. You just want to use Cherry's skill immediately, use Mile's skill immediately after. You want to be very quick with this, just so it makes it a lot easier to do the second bit. Use Mile's skill on the group middle guys. You want to aim so you hit at least 4 of these enemies to proc the next wave a little bit quicker. And then once the enemies spawn in, you'd cast them as this ult, and it should just one-shot them. Very easy stage. This second stage here, this is the team we'll be using for it, and I'll go through the cookies now. Rockstar will be running the max amp buff set, Soda will be running the water set, Durian's the same, DC's the same, Plantain's the same. Again, if you want to run the Epic artifact, that's perfectly fine. Alchemist is the same, Cherry's the same, Power and Lemazes are both the same. This first stage here is quite simple. We just want to start off with Rockstar artifact, making sure you get the attack % increase. If your Soda's too weak, you can jump in the pit, but we're going to start the wave and use Rockstar's ultimate. Then we're going to use Soda's ultimate. You want to be pretty quick with that, because you do lose quite a bit of time, but it doesn't really matter if you don't. Then we come over to the left side, and you want to make sure you aim Soda's wave diagonally up to hit this guy and this guy. Once that happens, you want to make sure this guy dies as well, so you do have a bit of time. Then you want to come over here as low as possible, because it does cause the enemies to group up and allows one Durian ult to kill them all in one group like that. This stage here I've had a lot of experimenting on, spent quite a bit of time doing, and I found the best strat to be putting Plantain below 50% HP. And then we come over to the middle, and we're going to use Alchemist's skill and then ultimate just to proc the wizard artifact. We're going to start the wave and use Plantain's ultimate. You want to make sure you hit all these enemies over here. You don't need to worry about this guy as well, because the Alchemist ult will kill it. It's just more these two enemies that spawn in the second wave. Then we're going to come over to the left side a little bit and use Plantain's skill. Then we want to wait for this enemy to move in on this guy over here, just so you can get the skill off as well. And once that happens, you're going to come over to the right side and use ultimate on these three guys. Once those three guys are dead, you're going to wait for Plantain's skill to come up and then use it on the last group of enemies. If your Plantain's really strong, you can run the common artifact that reduces skill cooldown. I can't do this because I don't have Plantain weapon, but if you do, you may be able to get away with doing it. But that's how you do the stage. Stage 3 here isn't too difficult. We're just going to start the wave and use Cherry's ultimate. You don't need to be this far to the right, you just want to make sure you kill the guy with Cherry's ultimate. Then we're going to use our skill and just finish with the enemies as fast as possible. Then we're going to come over to the left side over here and use Cherry's skill and ultimate to kill these guys as fast as possible. Then we're going to swap to Lemon Zest and use a charge up attack and his ultimate on the top left guy. And then the skill on the top right guy, and if you're quick enough, it should just kill him in one shot. If your Lemon Zest isn't strong enough, you may just want to use a couple basic attacks to finish him off. This is the teams I'll be using for stage 3. People do use Alchemist instead of Kurobi here, but I can't figure out how they use Alchemist. It might be because my Plantain isn't strong enough, but this is the best team I found for now, and if I do find something better, I will upload a video on it later. Cream Soda runs the same, Durian and Rockstar both run the same, DC runs the same. Plantain, we're going to be changing to run the epic artifact because we won't be using being able to take damage. Kurobi's going to be running this. Cherry, Mala and Lemon Zest will all be the same. For this first stage here, I heavily suggest rolling for the attack percent increase just because my Durian isn't strong enough. If your Durian is stronger than mine, you may not need to do this, but I have found it to help with the RNG in this stage. To start off with, we're going to use Rockstar's ultimate. We're going to use Soda's ultimate, and you want to make sure you kill the middle guy over here just because it saves the RNG with the two flowers at the bottom. Then we're going to kill the first flower and use a couple skills and basic attacks on the rest of them. Then you want to use the wave to kill this bottom left flower over here. And once that flower's dead, we're going to use Durian's ultimate in the middle just to kill the two bow guys on the left and right side. It is expected for this worm not to die because he will go underground before you can shoot. But we're going to come over to the right side and wait for the worm to pop up. And then just use a couple basic attacks and skill to finish him off as quickly as possible. Stage 2 here isn't too difficult. To begin, we're going to use Plantain ult in the middle over here. And we're going to swap to DC and use his skill to kill enemies like that. And we're going to use DC's ultimate to hit all of them like this, and we want to make sure we don't get stunned by the cubes over here just because you do lose quite a bit of time. Once that happens though, we're going to swap back to Kurobi and then just use his skill, and you want to make sure you line up to hit all the enemies in the middle so it does get the quickest kill. This third stage here is quite hard if you don't have a good Lemon Zest build, but to begin we're going to be using Cherry's ultimate and then Lemon Zest's ultimate to kill the first wave. Once these guys are dead though, we're going to use Lemon Zest's skill and then Mala's ultimate to kill them. I'd suggest waiting with these guys because you can use Mala's skill to kill the top left guy over here faster. But if your Mala isn't strong enough, you may just want to use a skill on that first guy. It doesn't really matter too much. You also want to avoid getting stunned like I was there because it does lose quite a bit of time. Once this happens though, you just want to make sure you apply the tag to the two healers with Cherry and swap back to Lemon Zest to finish off the healers as fast as possible. Once these guys are dead though, you just want to finish off the middle guy as quickly as you can. There's not really much else you can do in this stage other than that. And then yeah, this will be the clear for this stage. Again, it's really quite hard if you don't have a good Lemon Zest built. And that will be the complete guide for Season 5, Chapter 2 of the Infinite Labyrinth. Like I said at the start of the video, if you haven't checked out my giveaway in the previous video, you can go check out that now. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content and want to see more in the future, and best of luck in your lab runs.